We've heard them
You've heard
several
them.
times.
Okay. All right. Well, raise your right hand, please. Do you tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay. All right. So we'll start with the appellant. And
Okay,
you can
so-
go through your case.
So we do have you have our packets, right?
Yeah.
So it
Here.
said distribute the exhibit in advance of the meeting, but I didn't know at
Okay.
what point you get it.
Okay.
You.
I made
Oh,
5
Thank you.
copies, right?
Yep, that's good. Thank you.
Because I figured that's what I did for the application, so I would do this. So basically, we're sitting in the same or a similar boat as Joe, except that we don't have a house on our. We
Okay.
do have a structure. It's a pole barn. And we do have the timber exemption. So similar to Joe here, the jump you have in front of you in the exhibit, you have basically the assessments and the values that were given for the 1 acre improved site. When we bought the property in 2011, it had the access road, water, sewer in there. It did not have electricity. So all of that was in place when we purchased the land. At that time, the value we purchased for was approximately 6,000 an acre. So those improvements were done at 6,000 an acre. The remaining improvement is the electricity, which we did in the 2016 for $8,000.
Okay.
So if I look through this, obviously your value is the home site in 2013 is much higher than what we actually had in the property, and that's fine. So in 2021 to 22, we jumped up, we nearly doubled, or we jumped up 50%. And in 2022 to 23, we have tripled and jumped up 168.4%. So one of the issues with our assessment in 2023 was the amount of waste that was listed as part of the property. In my application, you will see that there was an issue with the waste. I went and spoke to the assessor after I had to file, because I didn't have much time. After I had to file the objection. So the waste is off the table now because they did correct it back to the forestry assessment, which is 2.5 acres of waste. Basically, the West Fork Pine Creek Road, the property across the way where there is a Army Corps of Engineers rocky berm, and the West Fork of Pine Creek and cottonwood trees is not forested land.
Okay.
So sometime in 2015, somebody went up, did an assessment, decided 2.5 of those acres that they were going to put it to 1 acre of waste. That I have a corrected copy in my latest, which shows that waste is back up to the original 2.55 assessed by that forester, which is
Okay.
Ed Pomerine, now deceased. So they did, correlate everything. So that the portion of waste is not under contention here anymore.
Okay.
They've corrected that. So the only thing that we're really talking about here is the value of the land. And we've spoken a little bit during Joe's about that as well. So if I count, so what happens when you sell your property and before you get your forestry exemption, you are assessed at a rural piece of land.
Mhm.
So if I calculate that at the current rate that's under the assessment here, my property at West Fork Pine Creek I'm going to use the numbers that I heard today, which I didn't know before, the 90, 100, and 110%. So we got to be in that. It would be $2.64 million if it was at the 90% rate, 2.93 million at 100%, and 3.22 at 110%. I really don't think the property is worth that. I really don't. So I'm not sure how I could ever come up with that. So in my application, I included some, recent sales up the West Fork of Pine Creek and then also on Local Creek. The only two that have land is a Trapper Creek one and Weir Gulch. And neither one of those is assessed at $146,490 an acre. One is at $22.85 and one is at $90,000. And I'm not familiar with the Weir Gulch land. It decreased from its assessment, I know, by half.
And, oh, did you,
So that is included in your original,
And the first one you gave us.
in your original pack.
okay,
There we go.
So I'm looking at the second line under Pine Creek area sales, and I'm looking at the second line under other creeks and
share
gulches
that with me
sales.
real fast?
Yep.
Mine didn't have.
So Trapper Creek in
The Trapper Creek and the Weir Gulch. I don't know how many acres under Weir Gulch, but I can see that the assessment versus the sale price is down by 50%. And I can see that the cost per acre on Trapper Creek is at $22.85.
Right, yeah, so one of the issues here is when we first got here, we bought the land and did not have the forest exemption.
Yeah.
So the land was valued at residential for the whole thing.
Okay,
That was our first tax bill.
And the sewer was there, or the septic was there, not the sewer, excuse me, and the well was there.
And
Okay?
the,
And the driveway was there. So that obviously was not assessed at some golden acre value times blah, 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 like what we're talking about here. And so and so what improvements we put in the land since then is just electricity. So, from the original assessment and, manner of evaluating the worth of the land, okay? Now then, since then, we got the forestry exemption, okay? So the forestry exemption, what it did is it basically took 19 acres or 17, whatever. 16 point whatever, and set them aside and said, we're gonna do forestry, okay? That doesn't all of a sudden make this other one property, one little tiny section worth 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 times more than the whole rest of the land. The whole rest of the land is there. So what we're saying is if you remove the forestry exemption we have right now, the rest of the land looks the same as where we have our pole barn on. It's obviously not worth that land in and of itself is not worth several $1 million.
I understand what you're saying. Are you guys done with your presentation?
I think so.
Okay,
Do you have
Yeah.
anything else that
Yeah.
you'd like to add?
we'll let you close. with
Yeah, well,
comment.
Yeah, we
You'll
can
have
ask.
again.
And one thing, one last thing,
okay.
the value of real estate is location, location, location,
Mhm.
period, okay? So comparing the value of land along Lake Coeur d'Alene or in St. Mary's along the river to up Westport Pine Creek, I don't think is relevant. Okay, you can't say that an acre of land along the river over in this location, because it's a home site,
Mhm.
is all of a sudden worth $150,000 a acre over here. So I
Yep.
argue with that basic, or I don't argue, I disagree with the basic assumption that an acre over here that might be worth $150,000 makes our acre up the Westport worth $150,000.
Yeah.
Because if it was, I would go and remove the forest exemption and sell the land for $3 million.
Exactly. I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
Jerry, you have any questions or?
Did you compile this?
We worked
No.
with our neighbor.
Did we compile it?
Yes.
No.
I can tell you my exposure inaccuracies.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
interested in your corrections.
So we can start at the top. The assessed value, there's no year by it, so those assessed values are not to 2023s, which is what we're talking about. The Brady Lane one assessed is, 773,278. But even at last year's, that 638 is not right. I don't know where that came from. The second one,
Well, can I ask a question there? So it's sold in September of 2022.
mhm,
So the value would have had to be what's there, the assessed value would have had to be a 2021 value in order
okay.
to sell in 2022. Right.
In September 22, it would have a 22 value on it.
Gonna have a 22 value.
Okay,
So that was, the 22 value was 584,672, but
584. Okay, so
Today,
even lower.
but we're talking 23 values, so 23's values was 773,278. And if you took, I mean, I'll only talk about what's wrong on this, but that sale still has to be time adjusted, but, so then the Trapper Creek land, that one, I mean, it is vacant land, but there's no road access to that or anything. It's not a home site. It's not comparable to a piece of your land because it's not home site. It's, I looked at the map, it's way far away. Off the road. The third one, the 23 value is 376,108, and the assessed value is, I don't know where that one came from. It's 262,604 for 22. And the fourth one, the 23 value, I didn't write down the 22 value. The 23 value is 201,506. And that sold in April of 22, so there's time adjustment on that one too, but
Right, but the 23, I mean, these properties sold in 22.
right.
So the 23 assessment can be based on the sale prices and whatever they did. But what was relevant for that sale and is comparable is what was it assessed in 22 and what did it sell for and what's the delta?
Sales in 22 are what we use to come up with our 23 value.
Okay.
And so the other one, that's a mobile home to reals. I don't know, that one, the 23 value is 385,753. And the Weird Gulch one isn't land only. There is some buildings on there. Small buildings, but there is buildings on there. And the 23 value is 249,587. And I didn't get to research the last one too much, the Montgomery Gulch one. It's valued at 209,518 now, but
Okay.
And those are, and I don't know, can I talk? Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
and those are great when you consider the value of the home on top of the land. All we're talking about here is the underlying land. Okay, I think that it is not appropriate to value an acre of land up the West Fork of Pine Creek at $156,000. I don't care what acre,
So-
because we certainly don't have any, the electricity, the well and all that other stuff don't come up to over $100,000.
Okay, let's let the
That-
assessor finish.
Yeah, let
And
them
then
finish.
we'll let
You
you
can-
do your
you
closing
can rebuttal
statement.
and ask
Right.
questions.
Also say we're comparing it to Lake Coeur d'Alene and St. Mary's and stuff. We're not. We're comparing it to Pine Creek area. So also, where are your living quarters on that property?
We live in an RV when we're there.
Inside the,
No, we move it out. We store it when we're not here. We live here a little over 6 months a year. So we take the RV and we store it inside the pole barn when we're not here. And then we move the RV back outside.
and so Pine Creek's your primary residence.
Yes,
Mhm.
we've paid Idaho state taxes for a bunch of years and
Income tax.
that's our primary resident, and federal taxes, it's our declared residence,
And
yes.
so, as I look at this, and your math, of applying the 1 acre home site to the excess acre is totally inaccurate.
What's the excess acre? You mean the waste?
the excess? No, the 16 acres that you took the home value, multiplied it by the 16 acres in timber value
I took the,
to come up with the
No,
with,
2.64 million.
so if I did not have a timber exemption, what would be my rate?
It wouldn't be 2.64 million.
No, wait, what would be my rate for all of
Yeah.
those acres? Would you rate them differently?
Yes. Your 1 acre is gonna be more valuable than your other.
But, so you
So-
have a different code. You have a
Um,
different code.
A different code.
So in other words, if I didn't have 6 on there,
Right.
You have 16.45 acres. What code would it be?
It'd be a category. It wouldn't be-
Oh, okay, well, category-
would be 18.
18.
There's one. Just
I'll have to go back and look at my
at
20.
14,000.
Let's let,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
the assessor
Yeah.
finish
Yeah,
their
go
part of it so they can
Yeah, I agree.
figure out what they base it off of.
You can
Go ahead and
talk
start.
about yours, so.
She kind of covered it. I was just gonna say that she came in, questioning the wasteland. Somewhere in 2015, we couldn't find any notes or anything. It was changed and we changed that back for this year.
Is it changed in the total that we have?
I believe so, yeah.
Yes, you brought it. There's a
It's
corrected
changed in the
copy
addendum that I,
That
or
handout
the
they gave
exhibit.
us.
Okay.
It's on the second page, the corrected copy.
Yeah. That was just written down.
But other than trending, you didn't.
Yeah, other than trending, due to the sales, we didn't do anything this year for,
Okay, now what about your comparables? Did you already?
She's got. You haven't got yet.
no, I haven't.
There you go.
So these are sales. There's a subject property, and these are just the sales that you can visualize.
Thank you.
Okay, land, there they are. So this,
It's just the sales that,
but we can see the 150 again.
were you looking for car launches? So 43 Barker Loop sold for 185 in May of last year. 780 finished square feet, 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, 0.14 acres. 2827 West Fort Pine Creek sold in June of 22 for 650,000. It's a 1,800 square foot house. Built in 1942, attached garage, various sheds, and a 16 by 38 GP building on 116 acres. 2 Brady Lane sold in August for 640,000. 2,100 square feet. Year built was 2007. An attached garage and a 40 by 81 GP building. It sits on just under 2 acres, 1.99 acres. 368 West Fort Pine Creek sold in December of last year for 373. 1,200 square feet, built in 1935. 25 by 36, a 18 by 25 and a 20 by 24 GP building. Sits on 1.15 acres. 516 West Fort Pine Creek sold for 240,000. It is a 1949, 1,594 square foot house with a 28 by 35 detached garage. 15 Maple Lane sold for $450,000. It was built in 1970, 2,400 square feet, and it sits on 1 acre.
Is that all?
There's 3.
Yeah, we can. And there's 3.
Oh,
land
I'm
sales.
sorry. There's
There's
3
3
land
land
sales.
Yeah.
So first land sale was 4.89 acres, sold for 155,000. The next one is 1.49 acres, sold for 60,000. 0.66 of an acre sold for 82,500.
You don't have any pole buildings or anything that you were able to,
I don't know.
Just whole buildings with land,
pole buildings again? Yeah.
you know, in the Pine Creek area.
Now, how does that work when you, can you go outside the area and look at if the properties are, because this is kind of a different piece
It is.
with a pole building, and so it's not a house. So how, would you go off of other areas with a house and a pole barn?
You could use appraisal technique called cost.
Mhm.
So you do a cost approach on it. Where you take the cost of improvement minus any depreciation on it. And I think I feel very safe saying that it would be more than $4,000.
Okay, you guys can ask questions. Don't worry about it.
Okay, so for like each of these home sales here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, what I don't see is where you've taken, like, for instance, the average cost of building right now, because we've looked at building houses, okay?
We did
And-
not do a cost on it.
Right, and right now, the average cost, we've been quoted anywhere from $150 to $200 a square foot to build a house. So if I take, for instance, where's the easy one to do the math? $1,874 times $150 a square foot, and then add in, let's just do the two small shed ones. Any one of these, 780 times 100. Let's do the first one, sale number one. We do 780 square feet
Mhm.
times $150 a square foot, which is extremely low.
$117,000.
$117,000. Okay, then you got the two small sheds. That puts the value of the underlying acre at $60,000, which is okay with us. If you go look at land,
That's cost new. You didn't account for any depreciation in there.
but there is no depreciation. Real estate value, a home
If you're
appreciates.
gonna do cost, there is.
But-
And a
but if-
cost approach,
We're just doing an estimate of this appraisal. So this,
but
home appraisal sells for what it sold for.
what you're contending, what appraisal technique you're figuring here is a cost approach.
No, what I'm doing is I'm trying to introduce some common sense into this, okay? For instance, you can't, a home is appraised for, if I could go out and build a house for $1 million and I can only sell it for $100,000, it's only worth what somebody else is gonna pay for it. It isn't worth what it's appraised at or what I built or
Well, then-
anything.
then
It's
you
worth
can't-
what somebody's gonna,
Then you
it's
can't
worth-
use current costs.
it's worth what somebody's gonna pay for it.
Right.
Okay, nobody is, and here's evidence right
So
here.
then.
They bought that, they paid, about $60,000 for the lot. These ones back here, land sale number 1, number 2, number 3, and this other one over here that we introduced. Okay,
The-
show that the land sale itself, the acre, okay,
No.
is average of 36,000, average of 12,000, average of 23,000. For the land, all I'm talking about is the land. I'm not talking about all the buildings and sheds. I don't have a problem with
And
that.
Cell number one is 0.14 of an acre.
So 60 times.
Okay, right.
So let's bring that to the 1 acre.
It's 60 times,
Let's go through the rest of them.
Well,
Let's do
let's stick with one.
Well, let's just do the math on all of them and see if we're coming out like reasonable on each one.
So
If each one of them makes sense, or one is way out of bed, usually you toss out that one is way out of the standard deviation, right? So let's use statistics. Let's look at it
Okay.
statistically.
Somebody may have paid $200 a square foot for that house. That my contention is that when you put a house on it, the value of the property is in the home or the house itself. The underlying land doesn't all of a sudden go up West Fork Pine Creek like something on the river or someplace else where people are paying $1 million an acre.
close to
Okay.
the corridor, I-90 corridor, and close to any lakes, rivers, and so forth, I don't disagree. You go just 2 miles down the road from us, and you can get Suddenlink internet. You're on public sewer. You've got all kinds of perks associated with your acreage that way up the West Fork, even if you take any of these.
Right, so,
So
So,
everything except this guy right here, 2847, all of the rest of these are all in Barkerville or south where they have,
I don't see a 2847.
I'm sorry,
28.
27 West
Right.
Pine Creek. That's the only one that's actually way up
so,
Pine Creek
so the
compared
compare,
to the rest of, the other
Right.
ones are
So
in town.
we're gonna
with
run
better-
out of our 5 minutes,
Yeah.
so the comparables are not the ones with the houses, okay? The comparables are these land sales, 1, 2, and 3. This one, 4.89 acres, sold for $150,000, $36,000 an acre. Here's one sold $60,000, 1 acre, $60,000 an acre. Here's 1.66, sold for $82,000. That's what, $130,000 an acre.
No. Oh, 0.66.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. And so what I'm saying, what our contention is, the land itself, the underlying land, disregarding all the other fluff that's on top of it. It's not possible for that land to be worth $150,000 an acre, or else I would just split up all my acreage and sell it for $3 million.
And are
Because you can.
And are you gonna put the development on it?
Sure, absolutely.
So
Absolutely,
water
because-
and the sewer and electricity.
Yes,
Absolutely.
because it's way cheaper.
Yeah,
So-
because what it costs me to put the water and the sewer and everything is less than $20,000.
Really?
Yeah,
I think you're wrong.
I did it myself.
What year?
So the electricity we did in 2016, we did it for $8,000.
$8,000. Our neighbors got a similar estimate. The
What was
septic,
yours in 2016.
about $8,000.
I'd have to go to a Vista and get you an exact number.
So now you,
So
But between 2016 and now, and the other ones, the road that goes into the property, the driveway, the well was included in the original purchase price.
in yours, not these though,
Well,
and
but
not in your other 19 acres. It's not.
well, yeah, I would grant you that. I would say only 10 of those are accessible to that road. Only 10 out of the 20 acres.
Because you're gonna have to put in driveways, you're gonna have to put in electricity to those.
Sure, you can subdivision. Yep.
You're gonna have to put water, you're gonna have to put sewer.
for $150,000 an acre, I would do it in a heartbeat.
I think if a developer came in here at $3 million, they could easily do that for way less than that cost. And so,
That's right, but we're talking one here.
understood, but if I add it, yeah, that's that's all we're talking about. We're not objecting to the forestry
So-
ones. We're not objecting to the assessment that you've done on the building. We're only saying
But-
that
but-
1 acre of land is not $146,000.
Okay, then we're too low on your GP.
I don't know that the two are related.
I think you
We're
put,
talking the total. assessment.
and that's fine, but we're not here to discuss that. But even if we were, okay, you're slightly low. We've gotten, because one of the things we looked at was building a duplicate of this pole barn and then building a house inside of it. And you're slightly low, but you're not out of the ballpark.
Yeah.
To
you can-
replace, to build another pole barn like that,
And what's the size of it?
2,400 square feet.
40 by 60.
Yeah,
So if you got,
'cause I've been pricing,
Yeah.
call Donnie Smathers.
Donnie Smathers, we talked to him. He said it'd be about $70,000. So you're slightly low. You're within that 90
with
to
the
110.
cement
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You're within the
I mean,
90 to
when
110.
we built the pole barn, we put $12,000 in material, $12,000 in labor. And
$12,000 in
no, the concrete was the expensive part. It's like 18,000.
And what year was it?
Over 2012, 13 and 14.
So
I don't know,
Correct.
I'll have to
I'll
check.
leave it at that.
But the materials have gone back down now.
They've
Okay.
gone down some,
Right.
not in 2023, they never.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Some, a
they're,
little bit.
I mean,
But
they're
that's
actually
that's a
reasonable.
whole nother discussion, right? We can talk about you guys got 60,000. We're not contesting that. We think that's we think that's in the ballpark for replacement cost. If it burnt down, what it would cost to replace it. Okay, that's fine. What we're talking, all we're talking about is the underlying land value of $150,000 is way out of line with this timber one here, these land sales here. Even once you add in the septic and the road was nothing, it was just two loads of gravel, you know, the well was there on the original purchase price, so it's hard to sell. In fact, we got 3 wells out there right now, and they were all included on the original purchase price. And the electricity, $8,000, and we went with underground rather than telephone poles. So
I have a question. What's the assessed value of a category 18 acre? What's the assessment value up West Fort Pine Creek, category 18?
Gentleman that's gonna get the timber here pretty soon. This is what this is, what it's functioning.
$14,000.
Okay, so $14,000. So would it cost me 10 times that to add a driveway, a septic, a well, and electricity? I'm just not buying it. That's 10 times the price
Okay,
to improve that acre from 14,000 to 146,000. It's just not, it's,
at
just
14,000,
not-
yeah, at 100, or you just look at it another way, you take the 156,000 minus 14,000. Okay, that leaves you 140,000. Can you put in a road, a septic, and a well for $140,000? Absolutely.
Okay, well, let's,
And then-
Okay.
let's, yeah,
We're-
let's,
yeah.
yeah, let's.
We're not good, yeah,
Um,
okay.
So where are we at here on figuring out the actual lots, the price per acre? You guys went off of the homes and that's what we did.
Sales, yeah.
sales.
The sales.
Sales,
and the sales also.
the sales of land or the sales of homes?
Really both, isn't it, Caitlin?
Yeah, yeah, well,
okay, so what we'll do is we'll close the hearing for and reopen the hearing for the BOCC, and we can't take any more evidence from here out. And what do you think, Tracy? Are you thinking?
I understand everyone's thoughts and confusions on things how should be calculated. Reading our Idaho codes and what we go by is what the assessor goes by. On the sales of 2022, I feel like we have to stick with what the assessor has. And if you have the opportunity to appeal to the state and have them review it to see if they could come up with something different, because that's what we're having to go by is what they have.
So the Idaho code says comparable properties are those with houses. to those
It's market values is
Okay.
what the Idaho code says, and that's, you know, it can, is there any other way we can do it, you know, without homes on it? Can you reach outside that type of area to look
No.
at shop the property?
Not in our time frame.
Not in our time frame.
But they've done that. Those 3 properties, those 3 land sales at the end,
Right, they have done it. They're just not using it
they're just not using that.
The 3 land sales at the end.
on your list of property sales.
Okay. That was my motion.
3.
Oh, yeah,
That was your motion?
That was my motion.
yeah, sorry, oops.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, I think I did it.
Yeah, this is a difficult one. And your motion was, we accept the assessed value.
What the assessors have appraised it at.
Okay. And I understand where you guys are coming from. And I understand where the assessor's coming from. And I just, I feel that maybe we could have went outside and did a little bit better on maybe outside properties, but I don't understand how that works into the home acre. We went ahead and, Mr. Avery's was the same way. And most of the home sites up there were, I would have to agree with the assessor.
Wait a second.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Hi.
Aye. You guys can appeal to the state and
We will.
go from there. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I have a